Hi, this is Bobby Ryan of the Detroit Red Wings, and you are listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 75 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Schulz, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. You get Tanner every time you come on camera. What's going on?
Yeah, baby. Summertime. It's coming. I can feel it.
You actually get outside?
Yeah, I have been. And
Oh,
the
good
days
for
that I
you.
can't, I just, roll around in some olive oil and do a little medium rare on the stove. So
Is that what Italians do on Mother's Day weekend?
yeah, it's like, instead of like sweating, it's just olive oil that comes off my body. So
Jesus Christ. You looked like you had a very nice spread for Mother's Day out there. You guys always have
did.
nice food.
Yeah. Gotta love the foodies in my house. They do it up right. So yeah, we had a nice little spread. Gotta celebrate the moms. We definitely appreciate the moms on this podcast. And
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to toss across the screen to my other co-host, Mac Vogel. How we doing, buddy?
Doing well. Yeah, can't complain. Doing as good as ever. Getting readjusted to the Midwest lifestyle. May or may not have gotten some margaritas at like noon today, but it happens.
Hey,
Mac,
Taco Tuesday.
This is like a Midwest question. How many times a day do you hear someone in Milwaukee say "ope"?
Oh my God. I was actually talking about this with my girlfriend just the other day about like how often we say "ope," because I assume I never said it before, but I find myself saying it all the time. Like not just now, but like through college and everything. Yeah. Like if you're like, let's say you're walking through like a Walgreens or something and you're like walking down the aisle and you like reach for something and then like you realize you're like about to bump into somebody or something. And you're like, oh, like it's literally
Sorry. Yeah.
OPE. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Or no, you go ahead. Or like
Yeah.
you open a door and they're coming out. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, I think you're right, because some of my coworkers at my real job, that's not this surprisingly, I know, shocker to all of you. Wisconsin, same kind of thing. Yeah, like our waitress actually for Mother's Day lunch was from Chicago. Dub Bears had a whole bunch of that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Chicago kind of ties into Wisconsin as far as like the pronunciation of things,
Chicago to Milwaukee is very comparable to like Baltimore to DC. It's like a quick hour up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Gotcha. We got a jam-packed episode, lots to talk about. Just no drama in the NHL whatsoever in the past week. Pretty silent. Just kidding, obviously.
Yikes.
Get into all that. Yeah, we'll get into all that shortly. A couple things before we start. Just want to say, we are going to be bumping up to recording twice a week for at least the first two rounds of the playoffs, just to up the intensity a little bit. Last year or even the year before, I can't remember how long we've been doing this. I know during playoff time, it's really hard to do once a week. There's way too much to cover. I feel like you miss a ton of the action. So we are actually going to be bumping twice a week starting this week. So you'll be hearing our playoff previews on Friday morning as we record bright and early. Should be fun. And we're going to continue that for at least the first two rounds. We'll see where we get once the final four are here. We'll see how much action is at play. But at least for the first two rounds, we're going to be twice a week. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I know we are. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I just want to mention the EB roller hockey team last week, same night that was fight night at Madison Square Garden, got their first dub of the season. I believe it was 11 or 10-4. Can't remember. I still haven't scored. I had 3 apples that game, I believe. Maryland Mortgage was bearing one of them. So shout out to Dave. Thank you. And started my men's league up again. First time on ice in like 2 years. Got the skate sharpened right before. It was a slaughter. We absolutely murdered them, which was nice because I've never been on a men's league team that's won a game, I don't think. So 2 goals in it, or not. 2 goals and an assist in the first period. Pretty happy about that. Not a big deal.
I have if you're done, I have a quick update on my men's league as well.
How'd it go?
So I muffed up the date of the first game. The first one was actually this past weekend. So I just played on Sunday. I walk into the rink. We've been called Team Pinnacle for all I've known, but like also I haven't played here in a year. And so I go up to the lady at the like front desk of the rink and I'm like, yeah, like Team Pinnacle. I don't know what locker room, because usually they just tell you and then you have to like sign your name or whatever. And she's like, Team Pinnacle, are you sure it could be called anything else? And I was like, oh geez, I don't know. She's like, do you know who you're playing? And I knew we were playing against Milwaukee Tool. It's like, you know, the Tool company.
Yeah, that's good.
They sponsor a team in the league. And so she's like, oh yeah, I have Team Camino playing against Milwaukee Tool at 5:45. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's the slot. I guess that's what they're calling it now. And she asked for my name and I'm on the Team Camino list. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's it. So I go down. Apparently there's some bar called like Bar Camino that's now sponsoring our team. So
That's sick.
we wear like a gray jersey with it's like a yellow like caution sign on it, but it says Camino instead of caution.
Yeah.
They're decent threads. Better than
cool.
before. I mean, before we literally just had an orange jersey with nothing on it. It was literally just an orange jersey with nothing on it at all and tape numbers on the back. So we got killed 8-3. But it was okay. The problem was everybody gets a bye week in this league, and our bye week was the first week. So everybody's already played a game, and we all get out there and we're like, oh boy, it's going to be a long one. Nobody's played a long ass time. And yeah, it was kind of a long one. There was also only 10 skaters for us, and they had like 15 or some shit like that. But
that's brutal.
I was pleasantly surprised with like my skills holding up. I was like shooting and passing pretty well most of the game, but my stamina, monkey? Oh yeah, always.
Yeah. Okay,
but my stamina was just trash. Like I went up and down the ice once, and then the puck goes back, and I'm like, nope, I can't go back there.
Spotted cows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Last thing before we get to the news. So I told you guys after my first roller game, you play on like this like coated epoxy like tennis court, and it's really slippery. So the second roller game, I got used to it. I was feeling myself. I was doing some good stuff. But when I switched back to ice, in my brain, you know, on wheels, you can't stop. So one of the things they teach you to stop on wheels is you almost like do a hard, like a really hard turn to try to like almost friction the wheels to stop. So I tried doing that on my skates, like on ice in warmups. I was like, okay, I can dig in. I can like, you know, carve up some ice here. Like it's not going to be a big deal. And my brain is just like all over the place, readjusting. It's kind of annoying, but I digress.
Did you just like completely eat it or?
Surprisingly, no.
Okay.
I still find myself using my shoulders to like stop myself on wheels to get onto the bench because I can't fully stop. But one day we'll get there. I've been watching. Do you guys watch Nasher on YouTube?
Every now and then. His
roller hockey stuff is like addicting. I am all over it. He does like the GoPro footage and shit.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. But I digress. That's enough about me and my hockey experience over the past week. I'm sure you'll get plenty of that over the summer. We're going to move into the league news, but before we do, we want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Brackish Life. Let's take a minute to talk about Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It's Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. Brackish Life has also teamed up with Rink to Reef Chesapeake Bay to preserve the area many of us call home. Rink to Reef repurposes broken hockey sticks into oyster restoration habitats. Brackish Life donates a portion of their proceeds to Rink to Reef to further preserve the beautiful Chesapeake Bay area. Support this great cause by checking out www.brackish.life today. Nick, I'm going to hand you the keys to drive the bus for the extremely dull league news since last episode.
Let me tell you a story. It's called Tom Wilson and the Broadway Blue Shirts. On Monday, Tom Wilson was involved in an incident with Pavel Buchnevich and Artemi Panarin. We're just going to do the whole timeline here. That way everyone's caught up, because I feel like I'm just it's like, the beginning of Jersey Shore where they recap what happened on the last episode. So
Do the whole thing, then we'll talk about it.
yeah. So we all know the incident. We talked about it last week. Then the internet goes nuts. The Rangers released a statement condemning his actions, criticizing George Peros. People are saying that the attorney general should get involved. And,
My God.
everyone's just losing their mind. They're saying this guy should never be allowed to play hockey again and whatever. We move into Tuesday. Wilson was not suspended by the league, but instead fined $5,000, something that I think we were all a little bit surprised by. Internet goes nuts again. People are like, this is ridiculous. How is this, not, a 8 billion game suspension? They're just losing their minds. On Wednesday, the Rangers fire president John Davidson and GM Jeff Gorton. The Caps and Rangers play that night, wasting no time settling that issue with 3 fights immediately off the opening faceoff, which I believe I said was going to happen. So kudos to me. 3 more fights would follow during the game, and the Rangers and Caps combined for 72 penalty minutes in the first 4 minutes of the game. The Caps go on to win 4-2. On Thursday, the Rangers are fined $250,000 for their comments on the DOPS, which Harrison said that the Rangers were going to get fined more than the Caps in this, and it turns out they were by a lot. And then Pavel Buchnevich gets suspended for 1 game for cross-checking Anthony Mantha directly in the mouth. That's what's happened since then. We were all sort of curious what that reaction in that game was going to be like. What did you guys think of the response that we saw?
Well, kudos to both of you guys for calling different aspects of that whole unfolding. It was a crazy 72 hours basically. My dad said it best. He was talking to me. He was like, Jesus, I told my boss when I was like writing up my report on all of it that I could have written a 300-page book on the last 72 hours. No problem. Literally I can write you a book right now on all the crazy shit that's happened in the last 72 hours, which is probably true and probably be a pretty interesting book, honestly. Yeah. But especially you throw in what happened with Oshie and all that afterwards as well. There was just a lot of storylines going on for the Caps during that time period, but I don't know. It was a fun game. I happened to be in Chicago for it. My grandpa and my uncle live in Chicago, and my uncle's a mechanic. I was having him fix up my car. I had a check engine light on.
Nick knows about that. Yeah.
I was going to say, is he good with Jags?
If you want to bring it all the way up to Chicago, maybe. But so he fixed up my car, and then I met my uncle and my grandpa for dinner at a sports bar. And obviously this was on Cinco de Mayo. So this was that big fight game and everything. And this is my dad's side of the family. So this is my dad's father that we're talking about. And of course he's a diehard Caps fan as well. And so leading up to the game, he and I were just talking all about it. We're like, what do you think's going to happen? And he said it too. He was like, I think they're just going to settle the score right away. Yeah. So we made sure to get to the sports bar in plenty of time. We saw the opening face-off, watched it all unfold at the bar, and there are people who don't really know that much about hockey pointing at the screen, being like, is this live? What's happening right now? Nobody knew what the hell was going on, but it was entertaining. At a certain point, even me and my grandpa were like, all right, can they play the game now? We're ready to see some hockey, but it's something you don't see every day. And yeah, it was entertaining. I'm glad they had to settle it like men,
A fellow friend of the program, who I won't mention his name, but if you've listened, he's the Rangers fan around here, had some choice words about all that went down. As the unbiased guy here, because I hate both teams, it's kind of hard for me to advocate that the Rangers really won anything here, because they got fined a shit ton of money. They went up in a dumpster fire. The only thing that I will say that came out of all of this that was surprisingly good, I guess you could say, is it Ryan or Dylan Strome? I'm blanking.
Ryan Strome.
He can fucking chuck them. Now, granted, I know Eller's not a fighter, but I don't think Strome is.
But neither
either.
of them are. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that was
Strome,
he's a tough kid. He can throw him.
He can chuck him. I mean, he had a really good fight. Props to Brendan Smith for being the guy who went after Wilson. I mean, that's obviously not an easy task.
you're going to lose that fight.
Who else was it going to be, though? I mean,
exactly. They don't really have anybody. But props to him for having the balls to do it, because
holy shit,
it sucks
man.
to fight Wilson, and then it really sucks to fight Wilson given the headlines and the drama building up to this. The one thing I'll give Mark, and this might be a little biased, is I do find it convenient that Wilson leaves the game with a injury and then he plays the next game against Philly. I don't know.
There was no injury. I can say with almost 99% confidence there was no injury. I guarantee you Laviolette, of all people, probably literally was just like, he's not going back in there because we're not having this be a fucking, like, he probably knew that if any time Wilson was on the ice, they're probably just going to literally try to fight him and get him off the ice. Like, so I think at a certain point, Laviolette was like, look, these points fucking matter to my team and I'm not good. You had your fight, whatever, you got out of the way, but we're done with that. Wilson, you're done for the game, which probably, like, we speculated whether he was just going to scratch him for the game to start.
That's where I was going with
which
it,
I kind of respect the fact that they didn't at least allow him the chance to kind of defend himself, get out there, have a fight, whatever. It makes sense that they pulled him out. I mean,
I don't blame him. No, I just
move or whatever, but I really think it's just like a team move at that point. Like, we needed to win that hockey game. And we did, and maybe we don't if they leave Wilson in and the antics continue.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. And exactly what you just said. If you don't take him out, maybe the Caps get sucked into a game they don't really want to play because they're not focused.
And more guys get injured before the playoffs, whatever. It was definitely a precautionary move. Just be like, yeah, he's injured. Let's get him out of here.
Right, exactly. So I have no problem with that. I think it's good that they let him play because I do think that the Rangers deserve to get as many punches as they could, which was not a lot, but I guess some.
Yeah. I think
all in all, just
that Ryan Strome fight is probably the only one that they won. But
no, Brendan Smith didn't win. I mean, at least he maybe got like one or two licks in, but for the most part, it went exactly as we all thought. Just a wild 72 hours. Wild.
That Hathaway fight was, oh my God.
That was a good one.
My God. I don't even remember who he had, but
I don't either. I think the thing that's also funny when you look at this is before the game where like the original incident itself happened, the Rangers were still technically alive. They had dropped a bunch of games to the Islanders that basically put them with their backs against the wall. And then this, like, talk about a way to just end the season where you're like, we're right on the edge. We could, we need some help, but we could make the playoffs. And then something like this happens. And in the span of, like we said, 72 hours, one of your best players gets suspended. Your other one shut down for the rest of the season. Your GM and president are fired and you're not making the playoffs. It's, kind of
you make a good point. Yeah.
A drop off to end the year. It's just not good.
Well, I don't even think we mentioned that Chris Drury's now the GM, by the way.
So right. And by the way, I think there was like a little bit of an under the table deal there. I think because Drury had apparently been offered that same position with like 5 other
Pittsburgh
teams,
was one of them too.
And he had turned it down. So I think they told him, hey, whatever happens at the end of this year, you're going to be the GM. And then they just sort of used this as the excuse where it's like, okay, we can fire these guys now after this happens.
So before we get to Oshie, I am curious. I want to unpack that thought a little bit more than you just did. We see these 2 guys get fired. The Rangers say it's unrelated. What is the exact correlation between these 2 events? Was it completely the team wanting to make, like, who is the one that made the statement then? If it were those 2 that said that it wasn't them and they wanted to distance themselves from
you
the
would
statement.
think like a room of PR people and people on the team. I sort of see this as like, how after the Caps win the Stanley Cup, they don't bring back the coach that won them the Stanley Cup because they already told Todd Reirden that he was going to take over. Yeah. I sort of see this as a similar situation there. Like they had probably already told Drury, you're getting this thing next year,
I think it just gave him a good excuse to kind of get it done and over with. I do think there is a little correlation. I don't think the reason they got fired was because of the statement. I think the reason they got fired before the season ended is because of the statement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like they could have waited until like July to do it, but I
Right.
think with maybe some big potential free agents being on the market.
Yeah.
You want to know a fun fact? Mr. Chris Drury and Mr. Jack Eichel have the same agent.
Well,
So.
and Chris Drury has spent plenty of time in Buffalo, as we all know, too. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a connection there as well.
Yep.
There's definitely some ties, but
do you guys think they keep their coach?
Quinn?
Yeah.
I think they should. I think he's a good coach. The Rangers had a really weird season.
I think they should, but hey, Tortorella and Tocchet on the market. Just
there's a
bring
lot of
Torts back to New York. Really interesting. It's funny. I had a buddy that was texting me. He was like, why does David Quinn remind me of like the spawn of like Satan or something? Like you just like they pan over to him on the bench and he just kind of looks like he's like not a human being.
He
like,
could be a good Bond villain, I feel like.
No, that man looks like a villain for sure.
He kind of I feel like he could be like the Green Goblin and like
this is getting so far off the rails, but best villain looking coach of all time, Guy Boucher.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
He had like the giant like scar in his cheek. Yeah. Kind of looks like the dude from Casino Royale. About
that too. And he specifically the very first day he was like their coach, he specifically was like, listen, you see this? We're not talking about it ever. So that's it.
Anyone got any questions? Everyone's hand goes up. He's like, not about the thing on my face. And they all put their hands down.
Exactly.
Mayonnaise is not an instrument. Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. To take it off the rails. I think we do need to mention that props to TJ Oshie for scoring it. Probably the best headline to come out of all that, but you'll never hear about it, of course, is Oshie netted a hat trick day after losing his dad in that contest. Just a real emotional response from him. His post-game interview was really good. I love watching Backstrom kind of give him the tap on the back of the shoulder after the game was over. So good for Oshie.
It was awesome just seeing him get that empty netter to finish off the hat trick and seeing the team just like, it wasn't your typical celebration after an empty net goal. The team really went in there and made sure everybody got a little knock on his head and everything. Yeah. And the camera, they panned over to him on the bench and, he was having a little bit of a hard time there, which is understandable. But, yeah, really, really great to see that. You really felt like, his dad had a presence in that game and was guiding the Caps through that one. So it's good to see. Hopefully he can guide us a little further into this summer. But
Yep, well said. To echo what you said, it was great seeing the reactions of his teammates and everything. And the statements that like they've released since then and that he's released shows you how close that locker room is. So,
and another real quick cool thing I'll add. I mentioned I was with my grandpa for that game, and we talked about all the Rangers drama, but we also talked about the whole TJ Oshie thing. And my grandpa's had the awesome privilege of being able to join the Caps for their last 3, maybe even their last 4 mentors trips. Where all the players get to bring their dads on like this one specified road trip for usually like 3 games. The Caps extend that to, everybody that travels with them. So my dad gets to bring his dad on the mentors trip as well. And so, for those games, my grandpa is sitting in a big suite with all of the Caps dads watching those games. So he actually gets to know a lot of the Caps dads through that experience. And he said he has a fond memory of Oshie's dad, just being the life of the party. And especially he said every time they went to, I think on one of those trips, they were out there in Minnesota or something like that. And he said just everybody at the rink was like, everybody knew him. Everybody, knew who he was, wanted to say hi, wanted to talk to him and everything. So
like just as cool as one of the players.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he was just a celebrity out there. So, that was just a cool little tidbit that I got from my grandpa.
Yeah. Absolutely. Connor McDavid, we kept speculating if he was going to hit this 100-point mark, and he did with 3 games to spare. So it took him 53 games to get to 100 points. So just let that sink in for a second. He's only the 5th fastest player to get to 100 points since the 1990 season. Only Yager, Lemieux, and Gretzky have done it faster. So it's pretty good company. And in his last 12 games, he had 33 points.
Is that good?
I think this guy is very good at hockey.
It's a joke.
You know
it's
what
not
I
even
think?
Real.
You know what I think happened is he was like at the beginning of the season, everyone's sort of saying is like because Nathan McKinnon had that monster playoff run. It's like, is McKinnon as good as McDavid? And McDavid's like, okay, I'll try it now.
Yeah, I have won money the past month betting 2-point props on this guy. Every night you can book it, especially at home. It's literally a dividend check, except instead of like 4 times a year, it's every week. So
it's the Hedman to get a point prop bet. This season. Yeah,
you're missing out. I mean, 2 points is a lot. It's always in the minus. You're probably like it was like minus 167 when they won in overtime the other night. It hit. I mean, it's automatic.
How many units have you been putting on this shit?
I mean, at first, like
I know you've gone heavy on it.
I have. I've won good money the past month. It's making up for my stock market losses.
That's exciting.
That's okay. But 33 points in his last 12 games. That's like almost 3 points per game. That's out of this world. Another fun fact: since the 2000 season, so basically the turn of the century, this is the highest points per game season that a player's had. I think Lemieux was the second in like 01 or something like that. But we are literally witnessing like potentially an alien on skates. I don't really know what is going on here, but he's a freak and he's so fun to watch. And Edmonton's going to be a really tough out just because of him.
He's hands down the most skilled hockey player I have ever seen.
Yeah.
But their goalie sucks. So whatever.
I think I read, actually, I'll try and find it while you guys go on to the next couple topics, but if I find this, I'll let you know.
Okay. Speaking of other point-related milestones, Anze Kopitar got his 1,000th point, which we said last episode was going to happen pretty much almost immediately, which it did. Harry, you've got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I found it. McDavid and Draisaitl, this was as of 2 days ago, May 9th. McDavid and Draisaitl this season have combined for 179 points. All of the other forwards, so that's 10 other players, for the Edmonton Oilers have only combined for 167. So McDavid and Draisaitl have 11 more points than the rest of the forward core combined. And Mac, I know what you're going to say because you've said it earlier this season. That's why they won't go deep in the playoffs. And I'll agree with you, but I don't know. I think they'll beat Winnipeg. I really do.
It's not a recipe for long-term success.
Exactly,
it's sort of like when the Caps were like first getting hot and it was Ovi and Backstrom ripping it up and Alex Semin ripping it up. But you also have to stop the puck from going in your own net.
And you can't have like Jeff Schultz and like
Tom Pody and guys like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it's sick, but it's not going to work.
And it's exciting and it's entertaining, but it's like long term.
If the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup, no, listen. If the Edmonton Oilers make it to the Stanley Cup this season, I don't even know. I don't have something prepared for this one, but
You're gonna get a 97 tattoo.
You need to get a McJesus with his face over like Jesus's face and him going like this or something like on
on my ass cheek or something. I was gonna say like the fans can choose something for me to wager $100 on like any given sporting event or some shit like that. But
yeah,
whatever. The point is they're not making it there. So
I agree. They're not.
I don't know if it's confirmed they're drawing Winnipeg first round. I think it's all but confirmed, but there's still a couple games left. I mean, we have playoff previews Friday, so I won't get into it too much. But for one series, I think he can dominate enough to carry him.
Yes. Phil Kessel, Harry, your boy, got his 900th point in the NHL. He also reached 900 consecutive games played in the same game. It's pretty cool.
Peak male performance.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had that long of a streak.
He does. Another fun fact, that was the first time in NHL history, because they played the Sharks that night, where two players played against each other that both had over a 900 consecutive game played streak. Marlowe has it at like 909. Kessel has it at 900. So,
wow.
Little cool. 1,800 games combined,
cool.
not missing anything.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins have clinched the #1 seed in the Mass Mutual East Division. I think a lot of us are surprised by that, but I think the Caps fans listening to this podcast will be like, death taxes and another amazing second half to the season for the Penguins. So who cares? Kenny Albert and Eddie Olczyk are officially going to join the TNT broadcast group. As you remember, a part of Turner Sports, TNT and TBS will be covering a bunch of NHL action starting next season. Ray Ferraro and Brian Boucher confirmed joining the ESPN broadcast, and rumored and assumed that Steve Levy, John Buccigross, Barry Melrose, and Linda Cohn will join the ESPN broadcast as well at some point. So what do you guys think about these personalities so far? And are there any that stick out to you as like really good, really bad? Are they missing anyone? What do you think?
I think for the most part, that's a good sign hearing some of those bigger hockey names. Eddie Olczyk is the one that jumps out to me as like great. I love Eddie. I think Edzo does a great job as a broadcast guy. Ray Ferraro, honestly, a lot of people criticize him. I think he's great. I really
awesome.
like.
I think he's the best.
I think he's the best
in between the glass guy out there right there.
Yeah, no, he's really good. The only one in there, and this one probably maybe some people take exception to me criticizing. What I've heard recently from Melrose has been a little shaky, in my opinion. Like I think he's hit or miss. Like sometimes he's talking, and I'm like, oh, this is good hockey info, because obviously the guy's like he's a tenured veteran of the sport. Like he knows his shit. There's no question about that. But like sometimes he gets to talking and I'm like, do you know you're on TV right now? Like he like kind of like gets a little like, I don't know. I think he needs a little bit of work.
He's a little like, if you have like a goofball and then a professional spectrum, he's very far on the goofball side, which is fine because Pierre like meshes the two and just fucks it all up.
Right. Maybe if you pair him with the right play-by-play guy, he could be okay.
But I feel like he was fine when he was on, like when he's with Bucci. I think that's a good, give and take. They have good rapport with each other. But I think that Melrose was good in like the 90s and early 2000s when the only people watching hockey on ABC and ESPN were hockey people. So hearing super Canadian, deep voice, monotone Barry Melrose was fine. It was good enough. He's kind of
cold too. You know what I mean? Like he's not like a warm, like anything goes guy. Like if somebody like says something he doesn't like, he's not going to be afraid to like disagree with it, which is
right.
fine.
And he's not like grouchy old man Mike Milbury, but he's not,
but it's just, I don't know if it's like the ideal thing for like growing the game. I don't know. That's the only like question mark in there that I see that I'm like, well, we'll see how this one
I'd
goes.
almost wonder if it would be better for him to not be on the broadcast itself. Like have him intermission, pregame, analyst, like insider analyst, if you want to do that. Cause the guy he's covered the game for ESPN for, we're well over 20 years now. So,
right.
Fun fact, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure the Penguins win percentage automatically dips by like 500 points when Kenny Albert's announcing. So
get him going. Get him going.
So for all you Penguins haters, I'm sure that's good news for you. But
I think Ferraro's great. I think Boucher's great.
Ferraro's awesome. I love Ferraro. And if they could add like one more good piece, like a Darren Pang, I think Panger's got good energy. We'll see what happens with Gary Thorne. I know that's been a big rumor going around. So we'll see.
Go get him. That's all I have to say about that. Marc-Andre Fleury takes over third place all time on the wins list for goaltenders, now only trailing Patrick Waugh and Marty Brodeur. I don't know if he's going to catch them, but kudos to him. The guy's been doing it for so long. So, great to see him continue to climb that list. And I don't know what it is about Quebec, but they've got spots 1, 2, and 3 on the goaltending wins list. And they'll also have the 4th spot once Zach Fucali gets up there as well. So
let's go. I was going to plug that.
Let's go. Is he starting tonight? Come on, give him a start.
He should be.
Give the people what they want.
Why
and they
wouldn't
want
you
Zach in net.
Let's think about it. You never know if you're going to run into a situation if you make it deep in the playoffs where like suddenly you have to like even just have him as your backup. And isn't it better if he's had one NHL game than zero? Like,
Yes.
just get it. This is literally the perfect opportunity to just start him because the game doesn't matter for shit. We're still in second place no matter what. And like, we're probably not even going to start most of our guys because half of them are fucking injured anyway. But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother issue.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have the room to feel it out and to go with it. I think they should. I completely agree with you. So,
Or at least split it, like do half and
Yeah.
half.
Yeah,
Why not?
sure. Why not? Literally just give him like the second half of the game for funsies.
They do that in preseason, so I
Sure.
don't really see.
This is as good as a fucking preseason game. The lineup is going to look like it is anyway.
the shit talking tonight is going to be incredible, considering that these two teams already know they're facing each other, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
One more thing. How many of the final games for each team? Like, there was a lot of games where like, oh, these teams are playing the last game of the year and this is a playoff preview. Like yesterday, like there was
Bolts,
and Cats, and then there was also Canes and Predators. Like, there's been a bunch of games where it's their final game of the year, and also they're about to play a whole.
I think Edmonton and Winnipeg is on Friday.
That's what I'm saying. Like, literally all these matchups just worked out so that the final game of the year is also a playoff preview. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Zach Hyman has rejoined the Leafs and is practicing. He could potentially play tonight by the time that we are recording this.
I looked it up. They ruled him out for tonight, but he's very close, which is
that's huge for them. They absolutely have to have him back. Yeah. Steven Stamkos, speaking of a guy that you probably would want to have back in your lineup, says he expects to be ready to return along with Nikita Kucherov, who has not played all year. Keep that in mind. When the Lightning open the Stanley Cup playoffs against the Florida Panthers, the captain of the Lightning, Stamkos, has been out since April 8th because of a lower body injury. Kucherov has not played at all because of hip surgery. Neither forward is expected to play in any of Tampa Bay's remaining games, which are done at this point. So we could potentially see them back for game one. No definite statement on that yet, but I would think if you're the Lightning, based on how the last couple of games against the Panthers have gone, you'd probably want these guys back in your lineup.
Yeah, I was going to go into an analysis on that, but you know what? It's all saving for Friday. Friday's going to be a really I would say, even though we're recording at like 7 fucking in the morning, it's going to be an electric episode. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and exactly. This is the first time ever that we're going to have a playoff series in the Sunshine State. We're going to have the Bolts and the Cats. And I'm ready to say this right now. This is going to be the series that I'm looking forward to the most.
I'm excited for it. It's going to be really fun. There was a brawl in the game last night. These teams do not like each other.
No,
I don't want to see the Tampa Bay Lightning do anything good ever because I'm just sick of it. And honestly, I love this Florida team. Like, I think they're so fun to watch.
It's hard not to root for the Cats.
Yeah,
like,
it's really hard not to root for them, right?
Yeah, they're just a fun team. They're that small market. They've never really done anything significant. I mean,
they went to the Cup Finals once. You got to give them that. But
yeah, I was also like negative 2 months old, so it's been a little bit. Not saying I'm old, but
right.
You know. Yeah.
No, you have to root for the Cats in this one, unless you're a diehard Lightning fan, in which case we completely understand and support your choice. But
I think we know a couple. I know a couple listening. So
yeah, we know one or two. So, but yeah, I think the best thing for the Florida Panthers would be knocking off the defending Stanley Cup champion in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be pretty huge. And then they would probably draw Carolina or Nashville afterwards. And I think they could beat one of those two teams too. So
absolutely. Plus I get to yell Bobrovsky at the top of my lungs every time he makes a save. So
Bobrovsky.
Speaking of a former team of his, the Blue Jackets, John Tortorella is out as their coach after 6 seasons and no replacement has been named. The Blue Jackets finished the season 18-26-12 and tied the Detroit Red Wings for last in the Central Division. I think we all knew that they were going to take a little bit of a dip this year. I don't think we knew how big it was going to be, and this was pretty big. They essentially gave up their best player for Patrick Laine, who has basically, in my opinion, continued to be the same thing he was in Winnipeg, which is a little bit underwhelming. So yeah, I think this is the right move for this team at this time. I think Torts will absolutely get another job, but yeah.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Harry.
Nah, I just want to get these two thoughts off my brain before I forget because I'm mush. One, Seth Jones tweeted at the Blue Jackets after they said like thanks coach blah blah with the goat emoji, which I found kind of interesting because Torts is kind of hit or miss with players. Secondly, Laine says he doesn't plan on going anywhere other than here, which I also thought was interesting because it's Columbus. They always get shit on for not being a free agent spot. So just wanted to say those two things.
That Seth Jones thing I did not know. That surprises me. I did see the Laine thing, and I saw him say a quote that was like, "I love it here. I don't want to go anywhere else." And I was like, "Really? That's shocking to me." I guess it really was just the coach thing.
Where you're like,
Gun to his head.
blink twice if someone's got a gun to your head.
Yeah, no, right, yeah. But I would argue that, like, I know they weren't the worst team on paper this season, but I would argue that the Columbus Blue Jackets had the most unsuccessful season this season. Like, I really think that they had the worst season if you talk about what, like, they might have been able to do and what they didn't do. You know what I mean? Like, they sucked.
Close second to them, the Dallas
Philly.
Stars.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say Philly's
that's
one
true.
for me.
Yeah, Philly's up there too. But
Philly, Columbus, and Dallas. Those three just really
they
hurt.
all could have made the playoffs if
Yep.
in like an alternate universe, if they but especially the Blue Jackets, they really like could have been like a good team, and then instead they just suck.
Traded their best player.
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet is also out as the Arizona Coyotes coach after 4 seasons. And same thing, no replacement named. Arizona finished 24-26-6 this season and failed to qualify for the playoffs out of the West Division. So just they had a mountain of problems to start the year anyways with, the issues with their draft pick. And then there's issues with the ownership group. And it was just never going to be a winning recipe for this team that somehow made it into the qualifiers last year. So I want this team to get it right. I really do.
Yeah.
It's like, the Cats. You want them to do well. You root for these teams that have been in these markets that aren't exactly traditional hockey markets, for a long time. But you look at what they're doing. We're starting now to see kids make the NHL out of these states. Like Austin Matthews grew up going to Coyotes games.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want that. We grew up during the Ovi effect. I want kids to grow up through that and, learn the game and love the game that way. So I don't know.
They need a guy. They need a guy.
I don't know what they need. I mean, at this point, it could be anything shy of, relocating, but I would hate to see Arizona lose that team because I do think, I think they have a great mascot. I think they've got a great, team look with the Kachina jerseys and then the Arizona Peyote jersey. But
They need that like that 1-2 punch or that transcendent player that'll come to the franchise and help. I just don't feel like they have that. I mean, you look at some other untraditional markets. You got Sagan and Ben. They're a really good 1-2 punch. You got Huberdeau and Barkov. You got a great 1-2 punch. You got Carolina. They're just stacked head to toe, but they
Forsberg and Arvidsson. Like, I mean,
How would you like Evgeny Kuznetsov?
Yeah, well, that's for another day.
I will give you Evgeny Kuznetsov for Nick Schmaltz. Done deal. Pack it up. It's over.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I would hate that because Schmaltz would probably tear it up with you guys. But
I bet, yeah.
So best wishes to the Yotes. Watch Torts end up there. I just feel like that would be hysterical.
Or give me Garland or Chikrin or something. Like give me something fun like that. Like I love that guy Chikrin. He's good.
Right.
Tocchet will be picked up immediately. I have no doubt about that.
He'll go somewhere for sure. I mean, if you're all these teams,
maybe the Jackets.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like he'd be great in New York too.
Well, unfortunately this episode is going to come out tomorrow, but I think tomorrow is the main exit press conference.
Yeah.
And they speculated that Quinn's not going to be at it. They don't know if that's because he has exit player meetings or what, but if you're a Rangers fan, you need to follow Forever Blue Shirts on Twitter. They do an excellent job of covering the Rangers. That's how I get all the scoops on what's going on with them. And there's definitely some rumors swirling, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of rumors swirling, Jack Eichel has made some interesting comments about his future with the Buffalo Sabres over this neck injury that he has. So he has stated that he's upset with the team regarding how to treat his neck issue and is, as he should be, frustrated with the season overall. There was speculation of this team potentially sneaking into the playoffs in an absolutely loaded East Division. So now that obviously didn't pan out, but they were on the radar. I mean, they had the roster for it. Eichel missed the last 33 games of the season, said he would like to have to go to have surgery. He wants to have this surgery. And the Sabres apparently don't want him to have this surgery to rehab the thing that's going on with his neck. So there's like a big disconnect between, he's like, I think the surgery will fix my problem. This team is like, no, you don't need it. Don't worry about it. You're fine, whatever. It's just the latest topic in the circus that is the Buffalo Sabres. But you would think with it being Jack Eichel, they would just give him whatever he wants to keep him happy, to keep him there. So, who knows what the hell is going to happen. I mean, I just pray that when this guy does leave Buffalo, he's not in the East anymore. So.
All right, let's play a game. Where's Eichel play next season? Nick, you go first.
Los Angeles.
Mac, you go second.
I love the LA thing. God, come back to me. I gotta go third.
So I know the Rangers is obviously the big one.
And you can make so many like comparisons, like the college coach, and you mentioned the thing earlier on about the agent. It's just
that was gonna be my gut, but I panicked and I didn't want to say it.
Right. I think we're all thinking it. And Wyshynski put out a great tweet today. He said, obviously, LA and New York probably have the most to give up just because of their prospect pools, the draft picks they've gotten. They have the most that they can offer. But you just fucking watch, and you guys are not going to like me saying this. You watch Vegas weasel their way in there and somehow make a run at it because they're in on every star player conversation. He also said, watch Sakic pull something out of his ass.
That, I think, is more likely than Vegas going to get him because first of all, what Eichel would do to the Rangers as a franchise is put a giant hole in their ship and just sink it. And I think he would put an even bigger hole in Vegas to sink them.
Why do you think that? Just because of the cap?
The amount of, think about who the Rangers have. They've got Lafreniere, they've got Kakko, and now you're bringing in Jack Eichel and all those guys.
Yeah, you can't re-sign those guys in a year or two when they
have Zibanejad
contract
and Panarin
Fox.
and Buchnevich and Adam Fox, and all those guys are going to need to get theirs at some point.
Suddenly all those guys would need to get shipped out somewhere. Yeah,
right. It's not going to happen, and I feel like you'd have to move at least 3 of them. So
here's a random one. What about the Flames? Like, what if
don't hate that at all?
Find a way to like shed Johnny Hockey and like
and Matt Tkachuk,
right? And
for Jack Eichel.
I don't know. They could make it work.
That would be a good destination and a good fit. But selfishly, I'm tired of me not being able to watch McDavid West Coast Canada time, and I don't want the same thing to happen with Jack. So I'd like them to be, in the middle of the country. But yeah, I think the Rangers are overwhelming favorites. They have a lot to give up. I think there are some listeners of the program who might think that they have to give up a lot less than they actually will have to, because everybody's going to be everybody's going to be in a bidding war for this.
What we're talking with giving up with this player, just so everyone's on the same page, is probably multiple first round draft picks and then a blue chip stud of your own.
Yeah, maybe just spitballing here. Maybe like a first round, a second round, Jacob Vrana and Richard Panik. Oh wait, that was already. Oh wait a minute.
One other team, and I don't want to get into this too much. I do find it interesting that the Panthers have Barkov and Huberdeau on excellent contracts. They're both like sub $7 million. They're still good for another 2 to 3 years. I would love to see them get Eichel. That would be really cool for Florida.
I'd be fired up about that, low key.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
the only thing that sucks is their goaltender's on one of the worst contracts in the NHL.
Yeah, how many years does he have left?
Bless you.
Nice. A lot. Probably like 7, 8, 6, something like that.
It's a big ticket for sure.
So Nick, you got LA. Mac, you say New York, but without
say Calgary. Fuck it, Calgary. Okay.
I think I'm not gonna say Vegas because I think there's too many problems. I'll probably just say the Rangers and suffocate myself, but yeah. Okay.
That's the worst thing that could happen, is for him to go to the Rangers. And not just for us, for Rangers fans as well.
Just in general.
I hope they understand what would happen to their team
Yeah.
You know, those two goalies you have, one of them's gone. You know, those.
Yeah.
They lose that defenseman that's so obviously better than John Carlson and every other
Right.
defenseman in the league. Oh
Right.
my!
I will
What's his name
say,
again?
Adam
Yeah.
Fox had a really good season.
He did.
A really good season.
No, he did. He really did.
Yeah.
I'm just
mean,
poking the
I
bear.
do. When we wrap up, I do have
I
an
know.
Adam Fox bullet point before we're done, but I want to save that for the very end. Let's knock out some injuries, which are solely going to pertain to the hometown fans listening to this podcast. So basically, the entire Caps first power play unit is hurt. As you probably know from watching the games, Nick Backstrom will play tonight. That is the 11th against the Bruins for the Caps' final regular season game of the year. Carlson and Oshie both will not. They're held out with lower body injuries. Ovi's a game time decision. Kuzi and Sammy remain out due to COVID protocols. Again, insanely frustrating if you ask me. Vitek Vanacek did not practice this morning, but is expected to start tonight. The other two goalies on the ice during the practice were Craig Anderson and your boy, Zach Fucali. So I would love to see Zach get in there tonight, as I think we all would, but I think Vanacek is probably going to be the one between the pipes tonight.
I'm gonna make a speculation here as far as all those injuries go. And this is based on simply my understanding of what these injuries might be and when they occurred and how serious I feel like they are, which is absolute dog shit because I don't know anything. But I would expect Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Carlson all to be ready to go for game one. I have no idea about Oshie. I feel like that one is a total coin flip just because it was much more recent and it kind of looked bad to me. Kuzi and Samsonov, I mean, that's just an absolute question mark just because these COVID protocol things, you could be there for a day, you could be there for a month. Like, you literally just don't know what the deal is with that. But the fact that they've been on the COVID protocol list for like a week now almost is not a good sign. So I would say expect to see 8, 19, and 74 in the lineup. Probably not 74 or 77, and probably not 92 or 30 for game one on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. Some suspensions to get to. Harry, I don't think you like Shane Gostisbehere based on this note that you put in here, but he's got a 2-game suspension for his dirty hit on Friedman. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Just a bullshit play, a gutless play, a stupid play. People want to throw arms about Wilson. I had every Caps fan send this to me in a DM saying, am I wrong to think that this is dirtier than Wilson? So I was like, no, you're not wrong, because this was a gutless piece of shit move. I tweeted from my personal account the fucking players' safety department, and they listened to me. So thank you. That's at least a 2-game sussy.
It's a selfish move too. It's just
it was just stupid. It's bad sportsmanship, and the game was over. So fuck you, Shane Gostisbehere. Don't ever come on our show. Thanks.
Wow, well said. As we mentioned, Pavel Buchnevich was suspended 1 game for literally trying to remove the bottom layer of teeth from Anthony Mantha's mouth. I thought that was well warranted. 1 game. I think that's completely fine right there.
Way worse than anything that happened with the Wilson drama to spark the entire.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the overwhelming reception I saw online was blatantly much more dangerous and deliberate than anything Tom Wilson did. But
if his name is Tom Wilson, he gets arrested.
Yeah, that's at least 5 to 10. Pat Maroon was suspended 1 game for unsportsmanlike conduct against the Panthers. We spoke about that brawl earlier. If you don't live under a rock, just YouTube it. It's awesome. Go watch it. And Vancouver's Zach McEwen was suspended for kneeing Darnell Nurse. The last thing the Canucks need with everything that's going on with them, but that's where they stand right now. And the Canucks, they're going to wrap up the regular season by finishing off against the Flames, if I'm not mistaken. So just some riveting, just,
Can't miss TV.
Heart-stopping, end-to-end action hockey right there from 2 of the most, what is the word I'm looking for? Disappointing teams in the NHL this season. So
there you go.
Let's go ahead and speed through the gambling trends. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that these picks and this gambling segment is brought to you by the Maryland Mortgage Wiz. Are you planning on buying your first home this year? Get pre-approved and explore all your financing options with Dave Fritz, the Mortgage Wiz. Interest rates are at a historic low and down payment assistance programs are available. Stop renting and put your money in a place that you can call home. Follow Dave on Instagram at Maryland_mortgage_wiz for more information. Dave is licensed in Maryland, Delaware, and Florida. Equal housing lender NMLS number 3094. So buy a house, have us over, and we'll talk you through some hockey games while you feed us beer and snacks. It'll be great.
That's what I'm talking about. That sounds
right?
Amazing.
Right. And he is licensed in Delaware and Florida. So make it a beach house and we'll even bring the beer. It's a win-win.
I'll meet you in Sarasota.
Yeah, seriously. Daytona Beach. Why not?
Dave, get us a discount code. Come on.
Yeah, seriously. So gambling trends. What have you guys liked from this past week? You know what? I'm actually going to start us off. I'm a little bit ticked off at the Islanders. They ruined my sweep the board parlay that I texted to you guys last week when they blew it in overtime to the Sabres of all people. So
I think the Bruins lost that night too, though, to the Devils in overtime, if I'm not mistaken. But the
Islanders ruined it first.
That was the main one that really got. No, I'm with you.
They didn't let you get your balls tickled even.
Exactly. Come on. What the hell?
I don't have a lot. I know I usually go off in this segment. It's just I can't really recommend anything for the rest of this week, just given the low volume of games. And now you really do have people sitting in, sitting out. So all I'm going to say is I believe the Oilers have 2 games left. I don't even really need to say this at this point, but McDavid 2 points. I'm still going to take it. Unless they sit him. I mean, obviously that changes things, but if he's playing, he's in my prop bet.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, it's like Harry said, playoffs are coming. It's a different monster. You're not going to want to hear this if you're sitting there down $50 right now, trying to figure out how to get back to even, but it's kind of the right time to just kind of sit, watch, and wait right now, in my opinion, figure out kind of who you like for the playoffs.
Watch the first 3 games because then
exactly. Yeah. If a team goes up 2-0, there's a pretty strong chance, depending on the matchup, of course, but there's a pretty strong chance the other team is not going to allow that to go to 3-0. That's usually the way like NHL playoff series go. It's kind of the time of the year to know the trends and just kind of know what you're looking for with those playoff matchups. But yeah, like Nick said, watch the first couple games, figure out what's going on. I'm definitely tempted to be a homer and hammer the Caps for game 1, of course, but I'm not going to do that. I actually think they're going to lose game 1. But I will never bet against the Caps. So I'm not going to bet the Bruins either. It's just the time of year to watch what's going on. What do you got, Harry?
Set a reminder on my phone on Sunday at 4 p.m. for today at 6 p.m. It is 6 p.m. right now. And just one thing that I forgot to mention at the start. I know this episode is going long, so I'm not going to kill this topic. When you are in warmups on men's league, whatever, and you're playing a team that has colored laces, this is an opinion. If you guys wear colored laces, I'm sorry if I offend you. If you wear colored laces that aren't white, yellow, I'm not even going to throw black in there. I feel like black isn't good. You're going to net 2 goals in the first period if you know what you're doing. That's all I'm going to say. I saw it in men's league. I've seen it in roller. Just the red laces, like the purple, the orange. I'm just not a fan. I feel like usually it's like a Bender thing.
I'm not a fan, and it's a big Bender thing. I feel like you get a little bit more of a pass in roller. I don't know why.
Roller you do, yeah.
But you get a little bit more of leniency. And I'll be the first one to admit it. When Ovi was ripping out the yellow laces when he was younger.
Yellow's fine.
I had the yellow laces.
Yeah.
And I used to get chirped for them all the time too, but
yellow and white's fine. I know that has nothing to do with what we just said, but the fact that I set a reminder on a Sunday to talk about this on the show, I felt like it needed to be brought up. So did it mid skate tie. Thank you.
So I think that wraps it up with trends. I feel like, Mac, to echo what you said, the things you kind of have to look for, a great example of this is the Toronto Columbus series from last year. That was the series of wild comebacks. I had that live bet where Dubois scores the hat trick after the Leafs are up 3-0 and the Jackets end up winning it in overtime. You just kind of have to get the feel for each series, how it's going to go. If you go back what is it, 2-3 years now, to when the Blue Jackets and the Bolts played each other in the first round and the Jackets swept them. And it was like, okay, if a team goes up 2-0 in the series, they're not giving up the lead. And yeah, you just kind of have to feel it out and go with the flow and, read into it a little bit more. But yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. So Harry, first and fourth liner, who you got?
Alrighty, so for my first liner, I've got the cat, Alex DeBrincat. He has 7 goals in his last 7 games. That's pretty damn good. Great prop vet. I think I had that on the Twitter account last night. He scored the first goal of the game, plus 150, easy money. So I don't know if the Blackhawks have any games left, to be quite honest with you. But if they do, I think betting DeBrincat to get a goal is pretty good right now.
Probably my best draft of the fantasy draft was drafting.
He's having a really good year.
Isn't they're in the Central, right? Isn't the entire Central done?
They could be. I don't know.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I forget. All I know is on Friday when we record, we'll know everything we need to know. Fourth liner, Kyle Palmieri. I think when this trade happened, I know I was big on the Zajac part of this. I still think that I was kind of big on the Palmieri part too, but only 2 goals and 2 assists in 17 games so far with the Islanders. It's not panning out like they had imagined, but he does strike me as the type of guy who's going to turn it on in the playoffs. And Jordan Eberle haunts me in my sleep, and Anthony Pavillier haunts me in my sleep. And we'll get into all of that on Friday with the special someone who will be joining us, where I'm sure me and him will have a lovely discussion. But my fourth liner is Kyle Palmieri. I'm not turning this into a preview.
2 of the clutchest hockey players of all time, Jordan Eberle and Anthony Cirelli. If you don't believe me, go YouTube their names and just put OT goal at the end, and it's a list of like 20.
Yeah, it's
Memorial Cup World Junior game winning goals. It's just ridiculous.
I'm not turning this into a Pens Isles preview, so I'm done.
Okay. My first liner is going to be, and this is a little bit of a softie, but Connor McDavid, 33 goals, 69 nice assists for 102 points in just 54 games played. Not too bad. So he's, cemented himself, I would say, as the most skilled player I've ever seen and currently in the NHL right now.
Yeah, pretty easy there.
Yeah. And then my fourth liner is going to be Patrick Laina. He's got 24 points, 12 goals, 12 assists in 46 games played between the Jets and the Blue Jackets. Obviously, the missing 10 in there is because he had to sit out games when he came over the border due to the quarantine. Overall, not the season he was looking for. I don't think it was it was the season that the Jets were looking for, or the Jackets were looking for. So hopefully he can bounce back next year. Seems like he apparently wants to stay in Columbus. So, kudos to him, but who knows?
Yeah, and then I had Jeff Carter. It's funny, Harry suggested this to me, and I actually was already thinking it before he even said it. But I saw a stat on TV the other night about like all the big moves in the trade deadline, and like who has. I think it had like Carter, Mantha, Hall. There was like 2 other guys. It might have been like Palmieri and Zajac or something like that. But
I think they had Sam Bennett on there too.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, Jeff Carter was like highlighted as being like well and above the most productive player for a team to have just picked up at the deadline. And it's just, yeah, it's like Nick said earlier, it's typical Penguins fashion, just like picking somebody up while they're already in the middle of like a tear in the second half of the season. And then only further in that point, this guy is dangerous. The Penguins are dangerous. I hate to admit it, but I'm afraid of this team. Especially the way that they have played the Capitals recently. I would like at the beginning of the season, I felt like we actually matched up okay with them, even though we were losing some of those games. I was like, you know what, like I feel like we're the better team, win or lose. But I don't know, those most recent games and the way Jeff Carter and even like Freddie Gaudreau and some of these other names that you haven't seen a lot in the Penguins lineup through the earlier half of the season that are now starting to show up in the second half of the season. Penguins are a force to be reckoned with. He's got 9 goals in 14 games with Pittsburgh so far. He only had 8 goals in 40 games with the Kings before that. So those stats pretty much say it all right there. And then my fourth liner here is Kuznetsov. I've had him as my fourth liner kind of for the whole season. Good. I don't really even need stats to back this one up. My argument here is just that, look, this is I put this in quotes, veteran, but he's a veteran guy for the Capitals at this point. I know he's on the younger side of our team just because we're so freaking old, but he's been there. He's been there for a while. He knows better at this point than to be, screwing around. I obviously don't know the circumstances of the COVID protocol thing, but to have been on the COVID protocol list early in the season, and then you find yourself back on it late in the season, right before protocol. I mean, maybe this is me jumping the gun, but I feel like I can blame him for this, I feel like this is something that he could avoid. And I'm wrong.
I think you have to blame him for this because the first violation of the COVID protocol was like them hanging out in a hotel room, which, okay, like you blatantly knew what you were not supposed to be doing, and then you did it anyways.
Like, why do I get the feeling that him and Samsonov are just like blowing off the team and like doing coke in some
because they probably are.
Don't give a fuck, I don't get the feeling that this guy is
it's like if you
dialed in.
Blatantly like messed up once, knowing what you were doing was wrong.
And,
let's be real.
Like, you blatantly mess up knowing what you're doing is wrong. Then you have like very average at best, mediocre to average at best season. And then you're like, oh yeah, playoffs are in a week. You know what? I'm going to like, whatever.
It's sort of been that very mediocre to average season ever since they won the cup. So yeah, exactly.
I just don't get the feeling that he cares. I hate to say it, but he's reminding me more and more of like a Alexander Semin, Viktor Kozlov, those like that type of Russian player that just is disinterested in like the US commitment of the NHL and like the way that the NHL is so like rules and stuff. And maybe I'm talking to my ass. Maybe I don't know.
It's a behavior thing at this point. Like clearly the attitude isn't matching the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And I think if you're one of the guys like Ovi or Carlson, who have been there
and you gotta
from the beginning,
get him going. You got to do something.
Yeah, you've got to be pretty pissed off
because he's a world-class talent and he skates and he handles the puck like none other. But if he doesn't care, then it doesn't matter.
It's one of those classic cases of like when he's on, best player on the ice.
Yeah. Yeah, he can make
it was
this difference in a hockey game if he wants to.
Alex Semin was the perfect comparison for that because hands down to this day, the best snapshot I've ever seen.
He can rip it and put it into about a teacup, talk about a shot glass. Like he can put that thing into a shot glass, but no, he just doesn't give a fuck. So
that was like a little therapy session for you all.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Isn't this Sammy's second time on this COVID protocol list now?
Yeah,
that too. And Sammy's young, so you can kind of give him the pass, but like not really. I mean,
there's no excuse for Kuvi here.
And I feel like, well, that's the other thing. I feel like Sammy and Kuzi are like, I know they're good buddies and everything, but like I feel like Kuznetsov's acting like he's Samsonov's age, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, we're both like 23-year-olds that are just, well, actually Samsonov, I think is like 25 or something.
They're like anyway. 2006 Ovi and Semin just running through DC.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're just running amok in the city. And it's like, bro, you guys have playoffs in like a week, not even at this point. So like, can you please get it
4 days?
Just get it together. No, I completely agree. Let's go ahead and jump into the market report. I'll get us started. My up team, you're not hearing this wrong, is going to be the Pittsburgh Penguins. They finished with another, so typical, monster second half of their season after everyone was crying about, oh, no, we're hurt. And, oh, I don't know if this team can do well. And everyone freaks out after they lose their opening game of the season and, cries about it. And lo and behold, like everyone else knew they were going to come back and win the damn division. So yeah, of course they do.
That blog is still sitting there.
It is still sitting there. So it's proof. So go look at what I just said because, I'm not wrong. They won the slugfest that was the East race. They were 8-2-0 in their last 10. They are done for the year. And I just think they had an unbelievable second half of the season. They were like, third, fourth, inside the picture, outside the picture for a while, and then just stormed their way to the top. And Mac, I have to agree with you. You said, this team scares me. I don't want anything to do with this team. 100% agree. Don't want anything to do with them. Just keep
That's
them
what I
away
was
from
hoping
me.
they would get
Yeah.
Boston, and the two of them would just tear the hell out of each other while we take the walk in the park Islanders. But
Yeah.
you know what?
Ooh.
Best case scenario, maybe the Penguins will sweep the Isles and they'll be sitting around while we have like low-key one of the best teams in the playoffs to face. Maybe somehow we beat them and then we walk the Penguins. That's the only way.
There's a lot of things that have to happen in there.
It's the only way we can get through that all. But I guess, it's better to take on the bull with the horns right away with the Bruins. So.
I will say this just to give the Penguins some credit instead of me just making them my first liner and then chirping them the entire time, or my up team and then chirping them the entire time, is they had a lot of help from depth. And yes, they did deal with some injuries this year, but they had a lot of depth guys step up to get this done, which is what you need when you're going to, put together a team that's going to go on a deep playoff run. We've seen this before. So yeah.
I read
goalies did their job. Their goalies took care of business for the most part too.
So I'm not going to turn this into me blowing the Penguins or a playoff preview, but what I will say is Rob Rossi, who has some hot takes and is a big homer, what he did publish is that this is the first time in the Crosby-Malkin era where the 10 best Corsi rating games by a Penguins player, all 10 were not, or how do I phrase this? None of Crosby and Malkin for the first time in their era since playing were not in the top 10 in Corsi ratings in like the best Corsi game. They were mostly like Jared McCann, Brandon Tanev, Brian Dumoulin, those guys.
I mean, hey, that's what you need to win a championship. So
I don't read into Corsi that much, but I know that's good. And I know that our depth has been really good this season, but I'm not taking the Islanders lightly.
Yeah, exactly. My down team is going to be the Winnipeg Jets. How the fuck did this team make the playoffs?
Hellebuck.
Yeah.
This is aside from Hellebuck, this is such a bad hockey team. And
Yeah,
I feel bad because there's a lot of good pieces in place here. Shifley, Wheeler, Dubois. I mean,
Connor.
I wish Hellebuck played for the Caps so badly.
Same. Kyle Connor, even though he went to a bumfuck college, but still, this is a team that the year the Caps won the Stanley Cup was the team I was most afraid of. Like when you get to that conference final point and you're looking at Vegas and Winnipeg on the other side, or the Caps and the Bolts on, the east side, I'm thinking they might have a chance against Vegas. They have no chance against the Jets. I thought if the Jets had won that series, that it was over, done with, Jets in 5, pack it up. So I don't know how this team made the playoffs. They're 2-8 in their last 10, but somehow they did because it's that North Division. So yeah,
McDavid owns that. McDavid owns every team, but he owns them.
But really owns the Jets.
I think he had his second most amount of points against the Jets this season. So if they end up playing in the first round, that's going to be not great.
It's going to be one hell of a series though, because I feel like the Jets might be that team that somehow out of nowhere could
crank it up,
wake up and clog up the Oilers. Just
certainly possible.
Frustrate the hell out of them. So who knows?
Mac, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go. I had the Bruins as my up team. I just feel like they're clicking really hard right now. I mentioned this earlier. Taylor Hall is just a really good hockey player now because, of course. Yeah, that's all I'll say about it. Honestly, the Bruins are just clicking at the right time, and I'm honestly pretty scared to play them. Down team, Islanders. I don't know what we can expect from this hockey team at this point. They've showed glimpses of the team that we all think that they can be with, playing a tight hockey game. I think last night they had a really slow start against the Bruins. And then suddenly they turned on the Jets. They actually ended up having a great game against the Bees last night. But yeah, they suddenly just found a way to, at least make it competitive. And I'm just wondering if that's what we can expect in the playoffs or not. I think that they've definitely had a disappointing final 2 to 3 weeks of the season, to say the least. I'm sure Barry Trotz is not happy with the way that they finished the season because they had a chance to even win the division for a second there. And they end up finishing 4th. So it'll be interesting. I really could see them getting swept by the Pens. I could see them finding a way to win it in 7 or something. I don't know what to expect from this New York Islander hockey team.
That's the thing. I feel like you have to see how they come out against the Penguins, because let's not forget those two have quite the playoff history between them. And yeah, I completely agree with you. If they come out guns a-blazing and just somehow are able to clog up the Penguins and shut them down like what they did to the Caps last year, then yeah, they're just as dangerous. But if they get steamrolled or get behind 2-0 to the Pens, I don't see them bouncing back from that
Well,
one.
that's the thing. And they're a team that's built for the playoffs, and they can easily steal a game one. And if they do that, hey, they're right in it, and it could go 6 or 7 or whatever. But like you said, if they lose game one, it could easily turn into a sweep before they even know what happened to them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to pick yet for that series.
For my up team, Florida Panthers, winners of 6 straight, dominated the Bolts in a good 2-game series with a lot of emotion in there. They look like a team with some passion and hunger. I think that they're ready to make a big step. I love the Cats this season, so I will definitely be taking them in the first series, but I'll give you that whole analysis later.
I know we rip on them, but I think all three of us are in agreement that we're going to be rooting for them in the first round of the playoffs. No,
The Panthers?
yeah, 100%.
I mean, we'll see how they fare against
the Bolts.
I mean, I don't want to say fuck the Bolts because like I do have family that's
right.
Down there.
That's
and stuff.
true.
And,
I know. Yeah. That's
no,
true.
they won't take offense, but I kind of like, fuck the Bolts. I'm tired of seeing them be good.
It's just, I never like to see teams go back to back, unless it's my own team, of course. But you never want, like, you're always rooting for somebody other than who just won.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the only reason I say that, really. But
we'll see how they fare against a Bolts team with Stammer and Kucherov. That kind of brings a different element, like Nick said earlier. And then my down team is going to be the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I haven't watched their past 2 games or watched the recaps. Maybe they sat starters since they clinched. I don't know.
But I thought they looked flat.
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row, 2 in a row to the Blackhawks. They've only scored 2 goals in their last 3 games. I don't care if you're, playing everybody or not. You don't want to go into the last 3 games of the season and basically get shut out twice and score in one game. So I don't know. I'm sure they'll be fine. They're a very good team. They are going to be playing a very hot Nashville team who also just beat them. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. We are going to have all the playoff previews on Friday. We should know all the matchups. We should hopefully have some dates that'll be coming to you Friday morning. Nick, do you have any quick fantasy updates for us?
I do. So Curtin and I are in the finals right now. This apparently ends on, I think Curtin thought it was going to end on Sunday. And he messaged me because I'm ahead right now. And he was like, congrats. And I messaged back and I was like, you know what? Good sport here. I don't think this is done yet. I think we have until the 13th. He was like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. So we have it's like 2.5 weeks for the final round. So this will end on the 13th.
It ends when the season ends, basically.
Yeah.
So.
But the interesting thing about that is a lot of players are done playing right now.
Yeah.
So the waiver wire has just been him and I dropping
all
these star players left
crazy.
and right. And I'm scooping up like Tanner Pearson because he plays
all the
Canucks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Adam Lowry's got 2 games left. Let me get him. I'll drop Mika Zibanejad. I don't care. I'll take him. So it's been funny to see, but it's been an intense championship round for sure.
I think you're up now by about 40 or so points, right?
I think like 30 or so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, looks pretty good for you. I won't say congrats yet, but
Thank
congrats
you.
to both
Thank
of
you.
you, just because you guys have both been absolute wagons this year in the league. So
Somehow, I don't know how, but
yeah, good stuff. Glad to see there's good sportsmanship too. Good job, Mr. Curtin. Good job, Mr. Manella. Love to see that. I'm going to say it again. I know I've said it 3 times this episode. Next episode is Friday, twice a week. We're not committing to a specific days of the week yet. Play it by ear, see how things go. Schedule's really busy.
don't miss the playoff preview.
yes, don't miss the playoff.
I would advocate Friday. I know a lot of you guys listen to the episodes.
It'll be quick, we promise.
Yeah.
Friday, 9 a.m. It'll be up.
Yes, I know a lot of you guys listen like 3 or 4 days after. I would listen to Friday's episode on Friday so you can get your series bets in by Saturday. And what we're going to try to do, and no promises because you know how we are, but we're going to try to make the twice a week episodes shorter because there's not as much to talk about. And it's going to be a lot more like to the point.
Just
Obviously,
recapping the games, because there's so
Saying
many
what we
games
picked for
going
next
on.
games and
Yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
And obviously we bullshit and we like to have a good time, and that's always going to be there, but we'll be mostly recording in the mornings, it seems like. So keep that in mind. And they're going to be short, sweet, to the point for the first 2 rounds, and we'll see where we go from there, but we're excited. Nick, I'll let you tease one other thing before we go.
Yeah, we have some summer merch coming out soon that we're super excited about. We've all worked together on designing, these looks and, this gear to get you guys geared up for the summer. So thank you to everyone that has already ordered from the store. We're going to have a summer merch sale as soon as all that stuff is up. So keep your eyes open for that. And we can't thank you guys enough for the continued support. We wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without you guys. So keep it coming.
We wouldn't have these microphones without these guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reinvest in the business, baby.
Right. Keeping the money moving.
Yeah, exactly. Do want to say this is going to be a limited time offer and we're not restocking. So
yes,
it's going to be
this is a one and done type deal.
It's going to be up for, I don't know. We'll decide the timeline, but we'll blow up our social media when it all comes out. We think you guys will like the designs. Nick did a good job, and our boy Clay over at Wilson Print Shop also is helping us big time. So thank you very much. Any final notes?
Nope. All good.
You all good? All right. We'll be back with you guys on Friday morning, bright and early. We're going to bring the energy. It's going to be a great weekend of hockey. And without further ado,
class dismissed.